Caleb, is that a black hole behind you?
Yeah. In simple quick terms, yep, that's a black hole behind. I guess it's just one of my favorites. I call it like the universal eye.
Oh, watching over us. So what is a black hole? Because you are an astrophysicist, right? Is that your background?
Yeah, I guess I did astronomy and mathematics, and then started to move into astrophysics, where I started to run into the system and things like that. So what I wanted to research, they said the technology didn't exist yet, and then I was like, well, what am I doing here? And it just took me a few months of contemplation to really actually, I guess, have the courage to really step out and move on. So that's what I
stepping out from.
That was stepping out from the astrophysics when I started. So about 6 years ago, after my bachelor's, I then came down to start my master's program here in Canterbury University, and incredible course. Like, I love the people and things like that, but yeah, just ran into it. I was like, well, what I was wanting to research was the quantum world and how we interrelate with that with our physical body. And yeah, the technology didn't exist. So I kept running into that issue. So a couple of times, I guess you can say, I looped universally, and in the research world, I was like, okay, well, I gotta have the courage to step beyond that and then just go out and on my own, which I could really feel my soul's calling was meant to do whenever I kept tuning in.
Oh, great. And so what did you find? Because really you are a researcher. Even though the research didn't exist, you're a leader of that research in a sense, because somebody's got to start somewhere, right? It's got to start, a research has to start somewhere.
I guess I really did branch out across the board. And one of the themes that I used to say, quite funnily, even to friends back in the day, is saying, oh, they'll probably find black holes in the brain and things like that. And what a lot of the researchers actually really starting to say is that there's these tiny little black holes that come from this it's known as the Planck field of the infinite that's around us, and then our cells and matter literally vortex out, kind of like a whirlpool action, into this world and this reality that we see. So you can say, I guess in simple terms, as a black hole is like a cosmological structure that you see out in space, but also at the micro scale or the quantum scale. And within there, you've got time and space dimensions. So the closer you get to the black hole, then that's where stuff starts really changing. And on the other side of a black hole, or another name for it is the singularity, is that we have no idea what it is. All physics gets distorted, the physics change, there's multi-dimensions, infinite time. So that's why the closer you get to the black hole, it's almost like the further away it gets, there's this time dilation effect that occurs.
So is that where you're researching?
That's I guess that's what I used to be really, really fascinated in, was all that. So that was one of the topics that I was super curious about. So the singularity, black hole, the quantum world, something else known as dark matter. What I did in my bachelor's was more around spectroscopy. So how light waves is called, or light energy. So when we look at the sun and point a telescope at the sun or a star, what's the chemical composition there? How fast is it moving and turning? Everything like that. So really, I was really fascinated in this unseen world. But then again, I brought it back to our biology and be like, well, how does our body interrelate with this? And how do we use these types of energies, you could say, which we know is there because we pick it up as well. There's telescopes and everything. I guess the technology that I kept running into was, they were like, no, we can't measure that. So I used to get pissed off every time.
Because you couldn't measure it. You couldn't find a way to measure it. A way to satisfy your brain. Yeah. So you're taking this and you're making it, and you're bringing it into the body. You're taking all this knowledge that you have and these perspectives, and you're bringing them into the world, sort of embodying this. That's what you're basically saying.
So really embodying this infinite energy that's around us. I guess that's also part of the goal, because when we have that infinite energy, we can then direct that into certain areas of our life, including our health. That's where our cells come from, and it's a lot of our innate potential. It's just there and it's always happening.
Yeah.
And I guess this is where the embodiment comes, and myself as a practitioner, when I'm working with people in person or online, it's like the goal is really to bring coherence to someone's system. It's this research, the physicist is named, his name is Nassim Haramein. And I think he's based in like Chamonix, which is in France, or Geneva, near Switzerland. And his research is really showing that these tiny black holes is like almost like a gateway between this physical reality that we see and this infinite field. And
Ah,
coherence is a really key part. So like 99% of, you could say, like almost like the energy, it's about bringing coherence to
yeah,
ourselves. So then
yeah,
when the more and more coherent we are, the more and more energy we have for our
yeah,
self-expression, and our
yeah. And
cells
tell
can
me about,
actually feel that.
yeah, and just clarify that word coherence, because it's quite a powerful word. When you take all of that and you think, God, how am I going to make this into one word? And I think it's like those meeting points between that kind of broad, incredible, like mind expanding stuff into the body. And it seems that the funnel is coherence. So tell me about the word coherence. What is it that's changing or between those two realities in a person's body?
Yeah, so coherence, another word is like we see it out there as the alignment.
Hmm.
So just being aligned with your physical, your mental, your emotional, you could say your soul, and anything that's beyond that. So again, with black holes, it's really showing that we're actually multidimensional beings.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
having coherence across that too brings in more energy into
yeah,
our system.
yeah.
And so just, yeah, with your actions, so with your emotions, it's like when we feel an emotion, we want to actually feel it. That's for us and unique to us too, based off what experience is going around us. Because what a lot of people do is with certain emotions is they don't always feel them. They actually like turn them off, or they shove them into the body, so it gets stored. Like the body keeps the score.
Yeah.
Which a lot of people have read that book now, or are aware of how emotions are being trapped and stored into the body. Um,
Mm.
but then the same thing happens with our mind. It's almost like, well, what thought patterns do we have? What belief systems do we have? How are we
Mm.
seeing the world around us? And how is the world seeing us? We
Yeah.
want that to also be coherent and aligned.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
some of the social conditionings that we've been brought up with, or generational patterns from our parents, a lot of that again can be stored as a certain tension in the body or tension in our field
It's putting us
energetically.
out of alignment, isn't it? What you're
Yep.
talking about is true alignment. And what's interesting to me is what you were talking about, where you said your soul wouldn't let you, something in you was calling you to do this work, because when you went here and you went there, you were coming up against the same wall. And it was like you had to find your own coherence, to find your voice, to find what you're really here to do.
Yeah.
And all of that conditioning is exactly what distorts us from what you're talking about.
Yeah, so whenever like you're exactly right there. So with the conditioning, it's almost like the monkey mind, or the stories that I was telling myself. I was like, no, I can't leave here. I must graduate. I must get the certificate. I must do this to be
Uh,
recognized, or to go out there in the world. Like, oh, I made a commitment.
uh,
Um, and I guess I was being, you could say, like I got a little bit of that loyal nature too. And again, that maybe that's from a social conditioning, or maybe that's from my parents
yeah,
or my
yeah,
childhood. I was
yeah.
being loyal to something, and it's like, oh, actually, that's
Ah,
not. This is, yeah, really not my soul's calling, or this is not what I should be doing.
yeah.
And whenever I did that and started to speak my truth, then that's when stuff really started to happen, or I felt like I got to a point where I couldn't hold back anymore, and I knew I was going to get in trouble.
Tell me about
I
the
guess I
trouble you got
navigated
into.
that gently, but still,
Yeah.
it was like really hard to not voice and, yeah,
It,
hold
it's
back.
not it's not easy to pave a new path, or to to bash through those thickets when you can see something clearly through them, but you don't know what it is, and you've got no choice because your soul is like, you've got to go through this.
Yeah,
And yeah,
yeah.
so tell me, I'm interested in that, not from a point of view of just you are a rebel, but just from that idea that sometimes what looks from the outside looking in as a rebel actually is bringing something incredibly important. So what would that be that you were bringing?
That I'm trying. Yeah, I guess what I'm
Those
trying
two
to.
clashing worlds of, this is how it's done and this is what you're seeing, and yeah, that's the tension that
Mhm,
I'm interested in, and then we'll get into the
mhm.
body.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I guess what I was really fascinating in, because whenever I go back to, I'm like, well, part of my core is the energy side of things. So we've got the subtle energies, or I look at it as source energy, or the 99%, or the universal energy that we know is here from quantum. And maybe that was because I had that as a background, and I was asking these questions in my late teenage years, and just very curious about it. It's like, well, all this is here, this infinite energy, the different time space dimensions, and we're not using it. Or this is some of our aspects where our core reality really is shaped from. It's the energetics behind our existence, or behind the cells, or behind the trauma, or behind whatever our expression is. It's energy first, and then the 1%. So for me, whenever I was looking at through those lenses, I was like, everything felt a little bit backwards.
Yeah, I hear
So
you. Yeah,
so it is a really new way of I guess you can say being, almost,
yeah,
or new
yeah,
way of looking at the world, is through the
yeah.
energy versus what is the energy showing, and then how
Ah,
do I then, or then how should I act around that? A whole different
right.
way, because our
Because energy never
systems,
lies, right?
yeah,
Yeah,
energy,
that's where the truth
that's
is.
right. Yeah,
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 yeah.
yeah.
And that's really fascinating, because sometimes I find there's two things here. One is that sometimes just trying to explain energy through the confines of the mind is very, very difficult because it's experiential largely. But
Mhm,
also sometimes words seem so tiny compared to what we're trying to make them say.
mhm.
Does that make sense? Like sometimes I just can't find the words because I'm too busy experiencing those sort of different, as you say, energies. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, I would find there's definitely, like, the articulation around the energy is can be hard, and everyone experiences it uniquely. I think there's something by Kim Wilber, and he talks about an integral theory around the four quadrants, and how we can actually interrelate that and research actually subtle energies. He uses something, yeah, they're four quadrants. So it's got the I, the its, and the we, which is a breakdown of our interior experience, the exterior experience that's going on outside of us, what's going on in the systems together from a technological standpoint, or a governmental standpoint, and politics and things like that, and integrating the relationship side of things. So the relationships between, you could say, the cultural field with yourself, or your peers, or families, friends, and so on there.
We're
So
amazing, really, aren't we? Yeah, we've got all that going on.
yeah. So all
Yeah,
that's going on a really
all of
integrated,
that. Yeah,
holistic scale, and we're
yeah.
not really utilizing it to that extent.
That's and that's what I
Yeah.
want to talk about. It's that untapped potential that I think we're waking up to now. But it's kind of like dormant. It's been dormant for so long, and I think
Mhm.
it's kind of like a flower that's kind of, in a bud now, and it's kind of opening up, and I think it's becoming quite big. And that word alignment has become really key to that journey, where we're starting to make. I wouldn't say we're agreeing, but we're not disagreeing as much as we did we did about these things, and it's exciting to a lot of people that there's far more than we in our little bubbles have, in our matrices, have been
Mhm.
believing in. So it's quite mind-blowing what you're doing, but I'm with you as well, and I'm excited. I can feel that it's a very exciting path for you, but I was going to say lonely one. I mean, I don't think you're alone now, but I can imagine you've had to make those calls that haven't been easy along the way, to just make
Mhm.
those choices to walk away from certain things. So tell me about what have you, or maybe we're on sort of thin ice here, but what have you walked away from and to create what it is that you've created? Because you're a founder of this Coherent Healing. So what's had to be rejected for you to be able to do what you're doing? Because founders' interest, it fascinate me, because they don't just know why it works, how it works. They know what doesn't work and why it doesn't work. And they live, sleep, eat, and breathe it, right?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
yeah,
So like, I was really fortunate to have, I guess, great mentors along the way too.
yeah, yeah,
Um,
yeah.
and you could say, because after coming from the astronomy and astrophysics, and leaving that, and looking at all the biohacking world and also states of consciousness, including flow states, I then I still wanted that astrophysics side, and I was still fascinated in research then. Back then when I was tuning in, it's like I didn't know I could feel energy myself. So again, I had to go through the program shift of, oh, actually, this isn't for everyone. So it's like I've gone through a journey of not being able to feel energy to then being a practitioner and working with this. And I was like, well, if I can do it, anyone can do it. We all have this potential within us to really shift ourselves and transform not just our bodies, but also consciously as a whole. And that led me to basically, when I was at the chiropractic college, I came across Craig Reynolds, who had a background in something known as network spinal. And that's from Donnie's work, which is really bringing, you'd say, yeah, like the physical body to what's going on in the energetic world too. But that was still a really body focused discipline. So even that, it was like, oh, I having to really shift the viewpoint on what does that actually really look like. And right now, this is where I'm at currently, is really shaping, I guess you can say, almost like a unique technique that's really focused on the energy first and then bringing it to the body. So it's a bit more of a switch. And black holes seems to be a really key component. So again, I know I talk about that again, and all the singularities. It's like always bring it back to that. And I remember that moment too, because I was doing, I think I was like year 2 at the college, and I was doing like a level 1 of network spinal, and one of the first slides that came up was like the spiral galaxy with the black hole in the middle, and I was like, yeah, I knew it.
You're speaking my language.
And Donnie calls it the gateway point in the body with the nervous system and the field. So I was like, okay, cool. I was like, yeah, this is more like it. This is what I'm really seeking. So I was fortunate to see a practitioner who was in Auckland at the time, and yeah, we had great conversations. But I guess from a standpoint of being like, well, we need this out in the world, this information in a unique way. And I had to just go through a certain phase where I was like, no, I got to really have the courage and bravery to step beyond that. And it took me a couple of years to really build the energy in the system and determination to really match that coherent vision that I had for myself in the world, or the world, or what I saw myself doing purposely with my actions. So I got to a point in my final year of the college, and I was like, my actions, they're not coherent. they're not aligned with the way that I'm behaving and being. So when I was really having those confronting myself with and having those deep conversations with myself, it's like, well, actually, this is how I want to be. This is how I should be acting. I can really feel it, but then I wasn't. So that really built the necessary energy to step beyond that. I hope did that answer the question?
Yeah, and you're actually answering it in an energetic form, because I'm feeling it now, and it's reminding me of when I had an experience in one of your workshops, which would be really good to share now, because you were just I think you were just sort of plugging into what you're talking about. That's what I'm gathering was happening. And also I just wanted to mention that a great way to try and explain energy is, because we practitioners throw this word energy, and it's like, what are you talking about? Are you talking about my electricity? Are you talking about, the calorific value of a carrot, or what are you on about? And it's such a blanket word, but I always like to use the analogy of a mobile phone, because we do not have a problem at all with this thing which has got no wires on it, and we can talk to anyone in the world, and it makes absolute sense to us. And yet when we talk about the body having natural energy, it's like, what are you on about? And you should try, talking about energy in houses, which is what I do, So it's like, that's an example of how our minds have been conditioned to believe certain things and not other things. But what I was going to say is, when I was at your workshop, you did a little sort of meditation exercise thing, and what I heard immediately was step into your power. Now, that's not news, and that's not something that I've never heard before. But as I sort of went, well, how am I meant to do that? I experienced what the difference between embodying stepping into your power and thinking about it, which means you could go in a workshop, you could learn about assertiveness, and you could learn about speaking up, and you could learn about stage presence, and or you can just embody it. And it's that pure embodiment of what you're saying. And it's like, oh, this is what stepping into your power means. And then from there, what sort of unfolded was like seeing myself stepping into my power. I could see that reality in the future, kind of thing, rather than going and sort of like, taking notes about what it is to step into your power, right?
Yeah.
And so that's an example of what you're talking about. And since I had a session with you the other day, that seems to be about moving out of fear. Can you talk about that? Because presumably people come to you and they don't know all this. They don't need to know all this. This is the underneath the bonnet stuff. But founders love to tinker underneath the bonnet, and I'm always interested to know, where's this thing come from? Because you're at that stage now where it's being embodied, and you're bringing it in. So perhaps you can tell us a little bit more about that.
Yeah, so when people first usually arrive, it's almost like the nervous system, the physical body. There's a lot of tension in the body. So whether you feel it or not, there's going to be tension in your life. It can be in your relationships, in the form of stress from work, even just having that time pressure and being on the go, that can show up in the body too. So first, what's really underneath there, I call it almost like the box stage. So everything that's stored in the body is certain programs or the generational stress, like I shared, I think before, how stuff can get passed down from our parents. Guy called Bruce Lipton, he's done all sorts of epigenetics. So it's like the energetics of the epigenetics. So the energetics that the cells, or what's creating the energetic of your reproduction in your cells.
He's all about beliefs, isn't he? Bruce Lipton, his whole thing is about what you're believing, your body believes too, kind of thing. Yeah. And your body never lies. Yeah.
And in this box stage, a lot of people, they don't feel necessarily safe in themselves and safe in the world. So that's why it's like a go, and sometimes we just have to surrender first into the fear or for whatever experiences we've had in the past, because a lot of that stress gets stored in the body again. So it can show up as like a defensive posture or a defensive pattern in the body. So people, coming up with or curving the shoulders forward, which creates like a bounded heart in a way. So rather than having the softening and opening and just working the world with nice softness, then that's really showing a bit more of that love and heart-led life in a way. Or the change of the posture. Down.
Isn't that fascinating when you say it like that? Because it's actually the norm. What you're describing is normal. Yes. So we're creating a new normal now. So that's stage one. Is letting go of all of that.
So that's that real suffering, because what we see is, again, and this is a little bit of adaptation from Donnie's work, is that in the human development stages, it's almost like, well, when you're suffering. So it doesn't matter what anyone else is saying outside of you. If you're in that state and you feel like you need to have the human experience of suffering, then we just have to acknowledge that and go through that. And sometimes, yes, we need a little bit of help to pull us out. But if someone comes along and goes like, oh, you'll be okay soon, if anything, that prolongs our experience because we haven't been acknowledged. So you can acknowledge yourself, but just be aware that, some people might not be able to acknowledge that or handle that type of energy and create space for you to go through that. So that's that first acceptance that, and there's certain experiences in our past that has caused us suffering. So sometimes we have to just embody that a little bit, or that vibration that's actually resonating in our cells, for it to just come to the surface and not be released, but integrate the wisdom behind that. So we're releasing the tension, but yes, we want to really integrate the wisdom of what that tension was really showing us. And a lot of it can be from the childhood experiences, over growing up too quickly, or it can just be certain trauma.
I mean, that's it's interesting you call that the box session. That's the box phase, because what happens after the box then? So somebody's they've basically come to a more heart open place, is what you're saying. They've kind of through releasing and integrating that suffering that they've been through. Is that what you're saying? And then
so in the box phase, the reason why I call it the box is because everything in your life at the moment is almost kind of conditions. Yes, there's going to be some authentic aspects of ourselves, but it's about becoming ease in the box, and then from there to really expand out the box, we need to erupt. We need to go through this eruption phase. So it's like we're going to build some energy in our system, build some emotions, build some Yeah, it might just be some, you could say that frustration within us to really go, yeah. So first it's just
Enough's enough.
acknowledging everything's me, but then it's got to be like, oh no, I got to step really beyond this
Yeah.
and come into that self-responsibility. And that's what really allows us to really break free out of the boxes, because we're really looking at first breaking out, which is like an eruption phase, but then following that, that gives us that energy to then merge with what was actually really behind all these illusions that were in the box.
I'm loving what you're saying here, because so often we're led to believe emotions are bad and we need to live our lives without them. And actually, they're what you're saying here is you're turning it around so that the pressure that creates actually something else emerges, a bit like that plant coming through the concrete sort of thing. That there needs to be that internal something rising up inside that pushes out the kind of external mold, or that box you're talking about, like that kind of, you're cracking it all
Yep.
open from the inside out. That's what you're saying, isn't it?
Yeah, it's
And
almost like you could say even like a seed, as a seed being born and coming into germination
yeah,
or
that's it.
fruition. It's like it's got to really have enough energy to
do
break
it.
out of the seed to shoot. So that's almost like us. It's almost like we have enough energy to break out of the box or the seed to then germinate and then
That
start to really
makes so
be
much
us
sense.
a bit more. Because
And
when we build the energy, we don't want to play small anymore, or we want more in life. We want to be more us, more authentic. We're a little bit like just fed up with the same stories or the same patternings. So we're just like, yeah, that's done now. I really want more. And that gives us that energy to then really go into the shadow, our darkness, our light, because we've got to merge with both. Sometimes we hold off our light, and then sometimes we also haven't merged with and seen our darkness. So we really got to integrate both of those to a whole version of ourselves and how we express.
And that's such a different place to come from than from the ego saying, I have to be more, right? Because it's almost like that's an external more. But what you're talking about is the sap rising, you're talking about that. And that's really exciting to me, because what it does is it makes emotions something that have got a real value. And they generally are seen as a bit of a pain in the backside, getting in the way of me being able to do the things I want to do. But actually, you're turning it around and you're saying that's where the power is, that gets rid of the inauthentic, the stuff that's just not got a place. And you kind of recognize that. That's what you're saying, isn't it? So yeah,
and emotions are authentic to us too, because sometimes it's like a boundary thing too. Like if we need to be angry and we don't express that, then that's going to get stored into the body. Being angry has a lot of energy. Like even that you can feel in my system. So just when you're tuning in, it's like, oh, I'm building energy now in the anger. But then if I don't express it, then it's going to go. The energy's going to go somewhere. So it goes back to body component somewhere. For
And
us
so
to
many people
store
are
it, and then
controlling that. So many people are controlling that, the anger management we talk about. So there's no fire allowed,
And there's difference between anger of a projection onto the mirror that's going on outside of us compared to like the anger that's within or something like that. So I think there's the emotional bandwidth of the human experience is massive, but most of us again are in a box of an emotional expression of this, but really it's this, and that's what gives us, and that's the human experience. Is having all of that, and all of that is us and our authenticity.
I'm really just talk a little bit about those two different angers, because you've really planted a seed in me when you say that, because what are those two? Tell me those two. You were like describing two different types of anger. That was really interesting. What were they? Can you explain them again?
So in if we just go back to the box stage, we're really learning that the whole universe outside of us is, or the exterior world is really a mirror to us. That's what So our internal and external is mirroring each other. And what a lot of people do is the energy, which is it's part of learning and part of growing as well. And we all have to go through this stage of projecting outside of ourselves onto something that's external. So that's almost like a projection anger, but really like sometimes what's going on is like, is it an authentic anger, or is this an anger that's been repressed, or is this an anger that's due to a certain pattern and conditioning, or is this an authentic anger? It's like, no, this is me here. I guess it's got a little bit of a different type of I want to say energy behind it. There's like a little bit of boundary setting with that anger too, and that self-expression.
Yeah.
Because same thing with when we're being authentic, sometimes we don't have that full self-expression, that full voice in the moment. So sometimes it's necessary to project, but sometimes it's overly done. And it's happening all the time. We end up just being reactive and reactive and reactive. Rather than having it as a choice to express in that way. So it's like, oh, I feel this way. Am I reacting? Or is this now a responding of anger? That's almost like how I look at it. I'm trying to think of an example. It's almost like I guess you could say for myself, as I was building the energy around to leave, say, chiropractic as a whole or the astrophysics, it's like, what's authentic to me? I'm getting quite pissed off at these systems because they're not like, I don't see them as working in the same way that I want them to. So I had to build enough energy and not project it again on that external force. I had to go take that energy back within and let that build and build and build, and just acknowledge that actually I've looped here. I can see this. There's something that's going on in my past from a childhood experience or a conditioning of some sort or a program. But what's really authentic to me now, if I had a choice in how I want to act coherently in alignment, then I would express myself in a certain way, which wouldn't be anger, but it would just be a determination for me to actually make the choices and the courage to go beyond basically who I have been currently.
Okay. Wow. So you must have had some quite amazing experiences with your clients then.
Across the board actually. It's really fascinating work. And people are coming really into alignment of themselves and that coherence, and they're really noticing a lot of it's within themselves, like they have the power themselves. And it's really interesting because some people will come in and like on their form or something, might write something around work and be like, I completely want to change work. It's not really in alignment. It's not who I am. But the first phase, it's like all of a sudden as they're stepping into their authentic nature, they don't change their job. Their job starts like getting better and better and better. Because actually it wasn't about the job or the work. It was about them not being able to be the authentic expression. And then those opportunities start coming to them, because as you're stepping into coherence, you're becoming like a vortex or a whirlpool or like a tornado. So you're going to start bringing these opportunities to you because now you're more coherent.
I'll show you this. This is on a recent, I do these insight boards. You see that? Can you see that in the middle where it says rise? Can you see? Oh, wait a minute, the pink one. Hang on. Where is it? Hang on. There it is. See, it says rise, and it says the magic of manifesting. And you see that body there with the twirls? There it is. Twirls and the word rise below.
There
you go.
Holy moly.
That's exactly what you're talking about, isn't it? I don't know if you can see that. Woo! I don't know how to turn my background off. I don't know. That's why I was doing that. But that's exactly what you're talking about. That's what I'm experiencing. Isn't that interesting? Because that's my thing is actually the images, using images to a picture speaks 1,000 words. And you're just talking about that. I thought that's exactly what's on my insight board. And also when you were talking about the outside reflecting the inside, that's feng shui as well. So that's my thing as well. And what I love is when you start coming up against truth, just like universal truth, you start finding people that have found the same thing from completely different points of view. And that's when that's a real kind of research to me, not the kind of, let me take this theory and create this situation and then study what happens with me, with my thoughts of what the results could or should be, and I'll keep my mind open for it to be something else. As opposed to when I step back, what's actually happening and what am I seeing and what am I finding, and then being true to that, and then finding other people that are seeing the same things. That's where it gets really interesting to me. Otherwise, it's kind of, there's a little bit of an agenda, a secret agenda in there for the research really, to say something.
and you've really hit the nail on the head. Like that's that quantum entanglement, almost like you're manifesting or creating, or you are the creator of the energy that's around you and what you're shaping. So in research, I find it super fascinating too. It's like I had to really think lots about this, but because yeah, at one point, yes, I wanted to do my PhD and things like that. So it's like,
Yeah.
oh, actually, what you're doing is creating a hypothesis. You're already kind of seeking an outcome. Yes, you can step out of it. There's all the bias and placebo, and you can put all of those things into best practice as you can, or
Yeah.
best research as you can.
Yeah.
But you've already done it. You've already like put it into the field.
Yeah.
And then not
You
only
haven't
that,
seen what the field brings.
you're
Yeah.
envisioning, you're
Yeah.
showing up every day, and you're putting it, you're reprinting it into the field. The field's like a hologram. So again,
That's
these
right.
vortexes, they come out like a projector. So it's like a mini projector down here, and we come out like a projector.
Yeah.
And when we're talking to that and giving it feedback and feed forward information, and the more and more you do that, especially with coherence, that's what's going to keep like showing up.
Yeah.
So
And
you're
then
like
you get experts
you're
around
pulling that in.
Yeah, and that's where you get lots of experts agreeing to it because they're seeing the same thing from their point of view. Yeah, and you got the observer effect in there too, and and so that's really interesting. So it does take quite. I think that it's interesting. You got the black hole as a really powerful symbol for what you're talking about in a sense because it's this mystery that we'll probably never know the answer to, and it's kind of like you're living in a question. That's a big part of consciousness, is to live in the question, be the question, like what happens if and what happens when, and then see what emerges. And then that's where you can really see potential being realized because you're open to what science has got to teach you rather than what you understand about it. If that makes sense. Okay.
And it's really interesting when we're starting to see like some of the latest technologies coming out as well. It's like even in healthcare, it's like we have all this laser therapy now. Laser therapy is a lot to do with coherence. It's got like it's using laser through the cell and really not only using light to penetrate the cell in the mitochondria, but it's almost reshaping and reforming the magnetism in the cell into a more coherent state. And then same thing, we see a lot of stuff about magnets out there now as well. Magnets and crystals and these certain things that they create like a coherent field. So when you put the magnet near you, or you lie in a magnetic bed of some sort that's got EMF frequencies coming through, like an electromagnetic frequencies and resonance, when it's coherent, that's going to help reshape your cells and the field around your cells, which create your cells.
That's
so
cool.
There's a lot of these technologies that's coming out that's to do with coherence too, and it's pretty interesting. And it's interesting.
I'm trying to get back to the body, but I'm actually really interested as well because you did say about there was technologies that didn't exist when you were looking, and that there was technologies you were interested in. So maybe just while we're here now, tell us a little bit about the technology side of things.
I guess you can just say with the technology and what I was finding, like it's called biophotonics, and just like how you can use a telescope and point at a star and read the light coming off, you can almost do the same thing with our body. But in terms of technology at the time, and I'm still not as aware of what's out there in the world, so it's like for that one I can't fully answer because I don't really know what's out there. I didn't stop looking, but I started looking in a new way. And just like how we have the innate tapped potential, I was like, oh yeah, this is possible. And I know one of the physicists that I follow in Nassim, like he's building some incredible technology. He's looking at when you research like the black hole and what's going on at the Planck scale, he's really looking at gravity as well. So you could talk about gravitational technology, or you may have heard of 0-point energy, and how this is starting to really come out. And I don't know where he's at and what he's creating. But it's he's already created like a really coherent crystal called the Arc crystal, and that looks really cool. I want one. And people use that for their health and well-being too. So it's a really experiential phase, I guess, that they're in there. I think it's called the International Space Federation. I think that's what he's called. His
Using a
This
crystal.
business.
That's interesting because I think it's Lemurian. That's what they did. They created AI with crystals in the Lemurian times. But we've got, yeah, so there's a whole understanding of that in the Akashic records. But let's come back to the body.
Mhm.
Let's go back to the body. Let's take all of that and bring it to the body. So
Yeah.
what sort of change? Obviously, people are finding that as they change, their external circumstances are changing, and that fascinates me. That it for
Mhm.
them in literally from the inside out, they're changing their lives and
Yeah.
and and other things are changing around them rather than them trying to change what's out there to make themselves feel different.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's really exciting stuff. So tell me about some of the other experiences your clients have had.
Yeah, so first is just becoming that physical, mental, emotional ease, really. So
Yeah,
a lot of people, they don't necessarily feel the physical changes right away, but they start noticing, oh, my function's improved, like I'm
yeah,
walking way better, I'm moving my body in ways that I didn't think I could, I'm becoming more and
yeah,
more flexible, and
yeah.
that usually then shows up in their brain too, and their minds, they're more flexible and I guess what's going on externally, but also within themselves. So without judging other people around, they're like, oh, actually, rather than black and white, the world's gray
Uh-huh,
and
uh-huh,
everyone's unique. So people
uh-huh.
start to really, one, be themselves in a more flexible way. And from a
Yes,
program, because when you're
not
programmed and
polarizing.
restored, you're
Yeah,
following a certain way and you're quite rigid. But to really break out of that, you got to be quite flexible
yeah,
and how you
yeah.
show up and how you show up in your roles because there's many different identities. um like your prefrontal cortex really holds like who are you, your I, again, like
Mm.
you're almost like your ego, in a different way, but yeah, who are you on a daily basis? Because when that breaks down, then the world around you also breaks down. It's like, oh, if you don't know
Yeah,
who you are, there's quite a bit of chaos at that stage. It's
yeah,
like, whoa, actually, I'm blasted open. I could be anyone.
yeah, yeah.
And
Wow.
I guess when you ask that question, you want to then bring it back to yourself and be as authentic as you can, because that's how the I gets reshaped. It's like
So
people
people
have a
are really
stronger
finding that,
sense of who they are and
yeah, I
how
was
they
gonna
then just
say
show up. Yeah.
that sounds like that's the main thing you're finding is that people are becoming their real authentic selves. So what is the result of that? Like what sort of things are you seeing people go from this to that in your in the work that you're doing?
You could say even just having like the right relationships.
Yeah,
Or I say the right relationships, but the relationships that's more authentic to who they are. So
yeah,
putting in clear boundaries, being like, actually, that's not who I am. I'm not really enjoying that.
yeah,
And keeping the same group over and over and having the same conversations.
yeah, yeah.
Or like, there's a few adults where as children or teenagers, they were doing certain things like going out to parties and having the same
Mhm.
conversations. And then I think I had someone recently go, they're like, this is the same thing
Yeah, yeah.
that they're doing from 20 years ago.
How
And
interesting.
it's the same
Ah.
conversation. So the same energy.
Mhm.
So it's like, actually, he's like,
Yeah,
I'm way more than this. That's not what I want. And
yeah,
rather than
yeah,
actually just going with the herds, just stepping outside of that and being like, actually, I'm okay just being on my own for a little bit. And then from
yeah.
there, then the right communities can come in.
Wow.
Um, so even like myself and my partner, I feel like when we're seeking more relationships, like the right people start to show
To
up, even if
show
it's
up.
online like this.
Yeah, yeah.
So sometimes
Yeah.
in your city, you might not have the people around, but the people are in the world somewhere, so you will connect
Connect with
in the
them.
right phase.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
I think courage is a big part too, because some people want to seek for relationships or they want a relationship, um, but then they don't go out into the world and almost do it or act in certain ways for their
yeah.
authentic nature to find that partner almost, or not find them, but allow that person to show up in their life.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
that's it. Exactly. Yeah.
yeah.
That's interesting. So what are you seeing people's relationships change as well as their careers or their
Um,
experiences? Or
or I guess this is where it's like when a couple is really doing the work and you're holding that vibration and that alignment happens and people can have those conversations with each other. Because it's almost like having those tough conversations to ask, oh, the other person, can you step up a little bit? Or this is who I really am.
yeah,
Um, yeah,
yeah. Can
and
you
when you can
join me
love each
there?
other that way, then that's
Yeah,
okay. You rise together
yeah.
almost, or you step up together and empower each other that way.
Ah,
So it's a
yeah.
different way of viewing the relationship when you grow together that way. Um, and not only that, if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. Sometimes
Yeah.
that goes through that process, and if the other person doesn't step up, or there's certain ways, it's like, oh, actually, that's not who I am, and
Yeah.
you change as you step into your
Yeah.
authentic nature, too. So sometimes it just drops away naturally, and then someone else will come along that matches
Come
your
along.
your
Yeah.
resonance, and coherence.
Yeah.
Yeah. I find relationships is a great training ground to really show you as well, your inner world, and
Yeah. Yeah.
when that projection occurs, or the mirror, basically, if that makes
Mm,
sense.
yeah. Oh no,
Um,
absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely.
and the other one I see is I'm also stepping into, yeah, what you're passionate about.
Mm,
So a lot
mm,
of people, again, rather than being a little bit, you could say, disconnected, it might be a bit harsh, but it's kind of just how it is. And going through the workday 9 to 5, it's like, oh, people are now starting to, after a little while, they go, oh, actually, I'm really passionate in something.
yeah.
Now
Yeah.
I
You're
have enough
changing
energy to
that.
try act in a certain way to step into that. Whereas before,
Yeah.
there wasn't enough energy to go, oh, I'm going to go into this.
Yeah.
So the
Yeah. So they
purpose
find
and
the
the
fire
passion
in the
starts to
belly.
naturally form as well.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
that makes sense. The fire in the belly kind of comes lights
yeah,
lights up to yeah, yeah,
yeah.
great. So what do you actually do then? What do you do when you if you've got more stories to tell about your clients, that would be great. But what's actually happening? What happens when people come to see you? Now we've brought it down from outer space to on
Yeah.
the table.
Um, yeah, so basically it can be on the table or online.
Okay, you do it online as
The
well.
on the table there's a bit more embodiment and a hands-on perspective.
Yeah,
But online I work through a different way. I use like almost like breath, or I just get themselves to position themselves
yeah, yeah.
for
Okay.
the area that I want to almost work with. And it's the first goal really is so on the table it's just a little bit of education, and what I do is really through like a light touch, so using the energy
Mm.
around you,
Yeah.
so really tuning into the energy. So what's the 99%, bringing
Mm,
coherence into that,
mm,
and allowing that to help, you could say, release the tension in
Ah,
the body for that
yeah,
self-organizing to really occur. So just like
yeah,
galaxies and stars, how they're always spinning. When there's energy, there's spinning, there's change, there's growth.
yeah,
Same thing
yeah,
with ourselves. When we stop
yeah,
having that energy flow, we stop moving, we breathe less, we stop
yeah,
being in a certain way. So we really downsize our life. So we
yeah,
want to allow that self-organizing nature to come out with the energy. Um, so it's just through light touch, guided through some breath, energy, and movement. I'll
mm,
position you in certain locations, whether it's in the neck or pelvis,
mm.
and just get you to be aware of where there's tension in the body, and just start breathing into that tension, and
So
then
I
allowing that to unfold from there.
yeah, so it's very, very subtle. You don't really do very much with your hands. It's more with energy from presumably from the beginning, but it's not like a chiropractic session where it's like clunk, 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 it's like, but it's
No,
like
no, no.
my experience was my body was sort of like its own intelligence was coming forward. Like it's like you're sort of aware that there's a knowing of what's needed and your body can find that. So that was quite interesting because there was movement and it was like I was always observing what my body was choosing to do, which was very different to someone putting your body in a certain position. So is that the kind of chiropractic side? Maybe I don't know if that is. I mean, that's quite
Yeah,
incredible
and
when
in
that
chiropractic, there's
happens.
this philosophy of the innate intelligence and the
Ah,
universal intelligence. So I think they call it
ah,
the 33 principles in philosophy. It's been a couple of years since I've been at the college learning that,
yeah,
but
yeah.
again, it comes back to that. Oh, we have this innate potential to self-heal,
Mm,
self-organize, and things like that. And that was from way back from the guy who first created chiropractic or stepped into that. I think his name was like D.D. Palmer.
yeah,
And he was like a magnetic healer that then
yeah,
shifted into more of the spine and the body and the nervous system.
yeah.
Um, and that way of looking, and that's what really hit the spot for me. So I was like, that was really that philosophy of the innate and the universal intelligence. I was like, a lot of this
Mm,
is kind of
mm,
like physics and biology, I guess, from my
mm,
science background. And I was like, it really matched what I was really seeking from a philosophical standpoint. And I
yeah.
think the same thing. We all move differently. We all be differently. We all bring energy into our body uniquely. So everyone's really unique on the table. Yes,
Mhm,
there's
mhm,
certain things that can look at. especially to make, like when we're looking for progress in someone or tracking someone's progress. So I still quite like to use Donnie's knowledge around waves in the body. So looking at the breath wave in the body, or the movement wave, which is called the somatic psychic wave. So talking about the body mind wave. But then that shows up differently for everyone, because some people don't move on the table. So it's like you really got to tune in and look at what's the energy of this.
Right. So then what's is there, I mean, I guess there's not a protocol that you follow, but the first bit you're saying is coming out the box, or is that it? Is that basically it, or is there more?
So yeah, first phase is becoming ease in the box, so being able to actually just have a bit of space for you to then start seeing these looping patterns and these stuck patterns, the conditioning, and just acknowledging, oh, holy moly, actually everything that's out there is reflecting in here. And I can see that, and now I'm getting frustrated, internal frustration, to the eruption phase, which allows you to break out of the box. And that gives you the determination, the courage, the bravery to then go back and almost merge and look at your shadow, your light. And on that, it comes into the authentic whole. And after that, then we can start looking at what follows next. And I call it almost like becoming that quantum multidimensional being. So yes, you're already that, but then you've got that a little bit with more awareness. It's like having that, you can say like state of awakening or ecstasis, feeling of that awe, and there's a lot of energy that can come through. So just also being aware neurochemically what that looks like in your in your life, and working with that as well, and just understanding. So that's what I usually coach people through. So first it's that phase, and so there's always more if you want, and I can help take you through that. So
well,
I
I'm
do
not
that
surprised.
online.
If you're working with this much, I'm not surprised there's always more. It's not easy being a human on this planet, right?
No, and sometimes it's important too. So once you've got just even ease in the box, some people just like, actually it's okay just to be here for a little bit. So sometimes I'd recommend at that stage, or I try and empower people to be like, what's your body feeling? But if you want progress, then keep coming back. But I'm like, take a couple of weeks break, or a few weeks break, to just have ease in this box for where you're at right now, because this is a new level of your life. You haven't had this experience in a very long time or at all before. So it's like actually just be in that human experience and use that as a resource to be adaptable for what's going on. And I think this is really important. This is why I love the online stuff too. And like I'm coming up with a program at the moment called the Singularity of Organic Technology. And that's bringing back to, we're organic technology, and I believe we're the most powerful basically technology on Earth, and we're so untapped. And there's a lot of technology that's exponentially changing out there, from virtual reality, you got the augmented reality, you got AI. I don't know, we were looking at even like brain chips and things coming out probably in the next 10 years. You got all the DNA changes from genetic coding. So there's tons of new tech that's coming out, but that's with a different viewpoint. That's coming from a perception that we're not the most powerful technology on Earth. Like we're untapped. We're untapped. So that's where it's like, let's bring it back to us. And I know there's his name's Ray Kurzweil, and I think there's Peter Diamandis is another one, and they're quite futurist people. And it's called the Singularity of Technology. So that's kind of that's why I'm calling it the Singularity of Organic Technology. So just like you got a black hole or the singularity, when you go into the black hole, physics gets distorted, time, space, dimensions, you don't know what it's going to look like. You don't know. It's almost like a black box, if you've heard of that term before. You just have no idea, and that's where we're at right now. We're in like a black box or a singularity stage of
it's a really crucial time, isn't it? I feel that. And my question with AI is, can AI support humanity rather than replace humanity? Can we help with exactly what you're talking about? We've been so conditioned, we've been kept in this matrix, we've been controlled and molded, and there's a big gap between where our consciousness could be and where it is. And it's like, can technology help to bridge that gap, rather than we're kind of being used by technology no, sorry, rather than technology using us, we use technology to advance the species,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
So it's the kind of other way around. So it's us from the inside out, because it's our untapped potential and dormant potential that's sitting there, that's not coming out enough. That's meaning that we're actually believing that we need technology to control, to I don't know, what is it? Which way around is it? It's kind of like a bit of both, but I've got myself all in a fangle there. So
Yep.
I think you kind of know what I mean, because we've talked about this hugeness and vastness, and then we've talked about how we are like these little seeds that just aren't, we're not expanding into the greatness of who we are, but I think we are now. And my
Yep.
question is, how can technology support that expansion of us, rather than control the way that we are, if you see what I
Yep.
mean? I think that's what it's
Yep.
it's the inside out rather than outside in
Yeah, I
argument.
think it
Yeah.
like I love the almost like the metaphor of how technology is like that double-edged sword. It's like
Yeah.
it's always been a double-edged sword.
Yeah.
Like fire's being used for cooking, but it's also
Yeah.
been used to burn villages to the ground.
Right.
Like ever since
Exactly.
the dawn of time, like going
Yeah.
way back.
Yeah. Yeah.
And we're
Very
looking at
good
that really with
analogy.
social media too. Social media has
Yeah.
connected the globe, which is incredible. We've connected everyone together
Yeah.
and we can talk, we can connect like this
Yeah.
online, but then at the same time, it's also hijacked our brains
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
overloaded us with dopamine hits, certain
Yeah.
neurochemicals, which
Yeah.
cause anxiety, depression,
Yeah.
judgment.
Yeah.
So
How
it's like it's really
interesting.
showing us and teaching us actually if you can handle social media, then that's almost like almost like call it like the test. Allows you to then like integrate the next type of technology because
Right.
AI
That's a
is
good point.
even more profound and indirect when it comes to your neurochemical because you feel like you're interrelating with like a
Yeah.
human
Person.
almost. It's not a
Yeah.
human, but
Yeah.
it's
There's a
talking back to you.
consciousness. Yeah.
There's some type of like energetic there.
Yeah.
Um, so it's interrelating again with your brain. So I think there's certain things that you can use which will help you expand as well. So it's just acknowledging that actually AI could burn us to the ground or it can help
Yeah.
us expand. So
Yeah.
for me, it's like, yeah, I like to use it in a certain way.
Yeah.
Like if I'm coming up with content, I don't always go straight to AI. I try really let my imagination and creativity brew
Yeah.
because I don't want AI to
Exactly.
take over that.
Same. Yeah.
Um, there's a guy called Stephen Kotler who's really created a lot of like flow state research and how to tap into your flow, um, which increases your performance by like 500%. Your creativity goes to like 700 and 800%.
Yeah.
So the research and the stats there are pretty incredible. But AI can also take that away
Yeah.
because there's something called like pattern recognition when you're connecting the dots and connecting ideas, the lateral thinking. If you ask AI and it gives you a certain parameters, then your brain's stuck almost with those parameters.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
So
That's
you
right.
want to go
Yeah.
to AI next after you've done a little bit of thinking and then you
I
put it
think
all
so.
in.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
I agree with you.
and
Yeah.
I think the way AI can really help us, even with robotics in the future, really opens up a lot of doors
Yeah.
for us to really come step into our creativity and our passion and our
Yeah.
purpose too.
Yeah.
There's certain jobs out there which take up so much time, and yeah, you still need a human to do it.
Yeah.
But if that can be taken away from another job, yes, it takes someone's job, but that's also going to open up someone like even more jobs.
Yeah.
But you're going to
Yeah.
have to go through a bit of a healing process
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
step into your empowerment
Yeah.
for what you're wanting to build.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Um,
that's right. I mean, there's such potential, isn't there? Because you can see it as, AI is taking all our jobs, or you can see it as AI can take all the jobs we don't want, so we can do the jobs we want to do. The only thing is,
yeah.
it's kind of taken over the creativity, which is a real pity. That's a huge opportunity not to do that, but it's only because people want that's happening, and that makes me really sad because it's
Mhm.
like this is our opportunity to become the creative beings that we are, and we know we can be, and we would like to be. And
Yep.
so and it has made people, sort of do more art and things like that, as well as people just want to get offline, just kind of like a whole other reason to do it. But then they can, use the AI to help them sell their art. So you can see how
Mhm.
it's a kind of infinity loop in a sense. So yeah, pluses and minuses, but I do feel like now is such a crucial time. Like this is the time to have those conversations, that offline conversations with, people who are actually involved in the actual creating of it. Because if you're doing it online, the AI is going nom 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 nom. It's taking it all in anyway. So yeah, it's obviously got to be, offline. There has to be decisions made that are very crucial at this time, and there's times I just go. There's times that I think, oh, and I don't know. It's a bit of both at the moment. But I'm interested in what you said about the dark and the light. That's fascinating, because there tends to be a polarization of dark and light. But you're talking about internal, recognizing your internal dark, aren't you? Because the kind of, this is again where you get this kind of double-edged sword, because people could, who are take like evil and then just claim that it's something else because we need contrast or something like that. But there is stuff that has been absolutely unbelievably evil and dark, and so that's not the dark that's dark that's gone off the rails, isn't it? I mean,
yeah, well, it's interesting because it's like where I guess we got the multi dimensions too, but there's darkness and light within us, and what we see out there in the world, if we're looking at the darkness and the lightness and these polarizations, like the politics and things like that, it's really showing a lot where humanity is at as a whole. It's showing our internal world as everyone comes as a collective to be like, well, this is where we're at. So that's kind of how I look at it. So for me, I don't look at it as right and wrong or good and bad and evil, darkness and light. It's actually, especially when we bring it back to us, because the world is grey. There's no actual right and wrong. There just really is. If you think of the universe as a whole, like stars, galaxies, and things like that, it's our minds is what really projects the good and right and wrong. And yes, sure, we need ethics and boundaries and to be like kind to one another in a certain way. But that the repression of our darkness sometimes, like the shame, the guilt, especially with our natural expression. I guess you can talk about sexual energies now as well, like the masculine and feminine energies and how we want to express. It's all part of our humanness. So we do have to go through some of these experiences. So when we bring it back to us, it's like, well, actually, internally, it's like, if there's something that we're looking at that was bad, that was once a program. So even if we're judging our past, that's looking at it as a bad way rather than actually just going, oh, it's happened. Oh, I can see that. Yes, I'm getting a little bit triggered, and emotions about it, but I can see that that was necessary for my growth.
Right.
It's there to give me the wisdom to then look deeper into myself in a shadow work way, you could say, and be like, this is actually partly who I am. So again, beneath the shame, there's going to be an authentic expression that you were wanting to express in a certain way, but then you're like, no, I couldn't because society said no. And it's shameful. It's shameful to do that. Or you feel guilt in a certain way because, actually I wanted to express, but then this person took it this way. And now I feel guilty about it.
Right.
Yeah,
because they're coming from their place and you're coming from your place. So that's where there's the clash. And if there's no communication, then So but that idea of the merging of the dark and the light, it interests me because there is definitely, like, in the kind of what used to be called the New Age, everyone was very, very light, but there was quite a bit of backstabbing would go on as well. But with a smile on the face, And then dark, it can be incredibly dark, but at least it is dark. It's not trying to be light. But now I think the dark is trying to pretend to be light, and that's where it gets a bit tricky.
So I think that's a really good topic, because what I said, there's so much bypass out there, especially the New Age spirituality that we're seeing is all about light, true. I want to say true transformation. Transformation really comes from the merge and the embodiment, as we've been talking about. So you have to really embody that aspect of yourself. So rather than actually just keep going out there, even out there into the multi-dimensions or the ecstaticness or the awakeningness of that and just seeing it love, awe, and light, that's a type of energy that we can bring through for us to then utilize to actually merge as well. So rather than actually having this full polarization and just bypassing these steps, to go out and become the Buddha or become one with everything, we can still use that energy in a way to actually merge. So I do see that a lot in that's out there. So there's, I can say there's incredible stuff with breath work and things like that too. But when people are aiming to get out of the body or like become just light, then it's like, okay, well, there's bypassing here. There actually hasn't been an integration of some sorts to learn the wisdom. And you can sometimes feel that in the body. Like I admit, like I definitely went through that phase too, and it is misleading because I thought that was the right thing to do for my healing. Because of the stuff that I'd gone through in my past. So I think I shared with you that I lost my dad to cancer when I was 20. I also had like a tennis injury where I had a nervous system shoot down my arm and down my leg. And I went on the self-healing path because doctors said they didn't know what was going on. So I was like, oh, actually, I had to really step back into myself. And part of my process was, kept going out and out and out into these states of awakening or being like a psychonaut. It's not astronaut, but using it through your mind and the multi-dimensions. And I think they're great tools, but then we want to bring that consciously through where exactly when we are at currently. Because a lot of that's almost like running away and avoidance strategy. Same thing with meditation sometimes. It's like when you sit there and it can avoid the human experience sometimes. Because sometimes you actually have to just go out into the world and really express
what's going on. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that dark and light merging is part of what you help people find their authenticity. That's part of the journey, if you like. It's not to reject either. It's to merge both. That's what you're saying. And that's
merge,
what they find happen.
Just see it, and sometimes with the darkness, there's illusions there. Same thing with the light. There's illusions there. There's something there. So you got to really, with these illusions, there's stuff beneath that. And authenticity brings coherence. So again, when we're bringing coherence to the body, we're going to have more energy on the other side. And yes, like it's almost like I call it like a little bit of a roughness stage, but because it's pretty raw, the experience is raw, and you, I feel like you can feel me here. It's like, you got to have compassion for yourself. You got to be in it, and it's uncomfortable. But that's where the growth occurs. Same thing when you look at a sports athlete and you're going to the gym and you're stretching your muscles to get bigger and bigger. That's the same thing for your authenticity. It's you've got to do the work. and go through the uncomfortable phase to grow.
Definitely. No, I totally agree.
And I think there's certain aspects too, like the diseases, the symptoms that we're experiencing, or uncomfortable situations out there with the projection on ourselves. It's downsizing us because it's trying to tell us to grow, and we haven't grown. There's been no energy or less energy, so it's downsizing us to really teach us a lesson. So pain is really like a pain alarm for you to listen to. It's like an alarm going off, not to almost, I don't want to disrupt the medical world too much, because every now and again, maybe a pill is needed for where you're currently at. But long-term use, it's like, well, no, we gotta learn the wisdom, not turn it off. You don't want to turn the alarm off. If anything, want to turn the alarm up. So we can learn the wisdom of the pain. So we can integrate the experiences and grow again.
So really we become very out of touch with our bodies and what they're trying to tell us, and that kind of communication system, and if we didn't see that during COVID, I don't think we'll ever see it. If we didn't see just how out of touch with our actual bodies we were, and how, as you say, that sort of societal pressure has been as well, and just those those belief systems of what this was, and yet how dark it really was to have the powers that shouldn't be to have done that. And but I think that the wheels have fallen off now, and the light has exposed the dark. So there's a place for, in a sense, how I see what happened with COVID was, from a point of view of someone who had always seen the depths of the kind of corruption, but it all came together with COVID. And in a sense, in a very strange way, we needed that to wake up. That was the pain of the wake up call, because the way that we were heading was just so we're so missing the point of everything. And I think we're starting to get the point a little bit now. We're starting to change our relationship with our body. We're starting to recognize these things. And so there was this sort of massive contraction that was the pandemic, and it's sort of like caused an expansion, a bit like, you know, when there's a birth, you have to have the contraction so you can have the expansion. And without, and that's what you're saying about the dark and the light. There's a contraction and an expansion. And and the contrast is what causes the other, you know.
Yeah. Well, it's I guess like this, the main saying is like, you can't have light without darkness, you can't have darkness without light. So that's like the whole polarization and the duality of the two and things like that. And I think you've really hit the nail there, because the way I just look at COVID and the events, even the events that's happening out there in the world now, it's getting more and more chaotic. But chaos is really necessary for evolution to occur and for change to occur. Without chaos, there'd be no change. And we want to get to a point where it's like known as the edge of chaos. So when there's the edge of chaos, you're like the eye of the storm, and that's what then has enough energy in our systems and collectively for the world to then evolve to the next phase, from where it's meant to be heading. So we need enough energy and almost safetyness or coherence to evolve into the next phase. And I guess it's not clear yet exactly where they'll go. Obviously, I'm optimistic, so I like to
you got to
focus on the next already and allow that to unfold, just to be in the journey of that. But it's exactly the same. So exactly the same that we see in our journey, the chaos that comes from within, sometimes the disorder that's allowing us to grow and evolve, and it's exactly the same out. Everything at every level we see. So at the cellular level, the atomic level, our human level, then you've got the systems level and the planetary level, then you can go even further to the galaxies and the universe. They all operate on the same like fractal light nature of the existence, basically. In theory, system theory.
I'm grinning a little bit here because I'm just thinking about, you know, when you go to the doctor, the conversation you have compared to the conversation that I'm having with you about the body and where it fits in it all. It's just so it's so fascinating, this idea. I think it's really healthy that we recognize not just our limitations. I don't mean our limitations, I mean how we've limited ourselves and what else is possible. That's a really exciting point of tension that I'm interested in, that literally pushing the boundaries of, you know, where are those boundaries? Because I think the thing is, and this is interesting, because to come back, we've gone full circle, because to come back to your original feeling that you didn't want to continue, you know, on the path that you were on, is that you were seeing something that was much, 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 much broader. And and you've really kind of embraced that. And it's almost like when I hear you talking and I hear what you're doing and I hear the changes it's making, and it's that kind of inside out change and that alignment that is so key that we've been missing. And it's like there is a real questioning that did come about because of the pandemic. And, you know, where is the body and how does it sit within that? And where are the belief systems that have caused us to just sort of be like zombies, you know? and that's, I think, where the change is now. And that's a lot to do with the chaos, is we're de-zombifying ourselves. We're, you know, literally waking up, you know, and we're seeing, and when you wake up, you see where you've been asleep before, and you know, where, but of course, when you wake, normally you just go from one experience to another, and you just open your eyes and you're like, oh, I'm awake now. But there's definitely a difference between that asleep place and that awake place. And these are the conversations that are, I mean, what you're saying is just mind-blowing. And I love that, because I'm very interested in different perspectives from all different people. And I, you know, gobble it up, because I just love to hear, I see the world from this place, and I see the world from this place, and I see the world from this place. And and I love to tie those threads together to see how where the truths are, where the true truths are. And I think what, sorry, and you go.
And I absolutely love that, like the multiple perspectives, and the more perspectives you can hold it's like, again, more energy allows you to hold more perspectives when you're looking at something. And that comes back to this multi-dimensional nature that we have of ourselves. It's almost like if someone's in the room and you're looking straight at them, you only see their front view, but what about their back view, their side views? Can you see all of their views in one go? So again, there's different perspectives. It's like, what shoulder are you looking at? Are you looking at one of them, or are you looking at both? So this really integrative, holistic way of looking at things on multiple levels. It's like, and then when I'm working on someone, this is what I'm holding when I'm working on someone. I'm holding all these different perspectives at the same time while working on someone. Because if I only had one perspective, then it's like, well, I've only got one type of energy going through. But if I have them all, then it's like, okay, I got them all. And depending on the practitioner and the viewpoint, like you got the medical model, so the medical model or the medical viewpoint is one perspective. What about all the other perspectives that are out there? And there's probably infinite. So it's like, when you're working on someone, and same thing, this is where I struggle a little bit with the work. I'm still working on it. It's really dialoguing. How do I bring someone into the work? And how do I articulate that to someone? Because it's quite confusing at first, especially for your first session on the table. It's like, even when I've done videos in the past, or writing certain things and sent them, it's still confusing for someone because they got to really experience it and go through the experience. And the work isn't for everyone at this stage. It's like people will come at the right time. Like, I'm starting to notice people are really wanting to work on themselves.
That's right.
So that really brings a certain lens that comes through from like this multiple perspective way of looking at life. That's going back to the perspectives thing. I think that's really important, is everyone's got their unique way. And I guess, I don't know how many humans there are on the planet at the moment, but billions. So there's billions of perspectives if we come back to our authentic nature. There's billions way of looking at the looking at the world. Because
how can there be one right way and one wrong? How can there be a right way and a wrong way? How can there be one way that is right and every other way is wrong? How can that possibly be?
And that's why I love the work. It's so empowering. Like, I think I had someone recently that asked, like, oh, how much walking should I do today? Because they had some some hip pain and things like that. And it's just like, well, what does your body want? I don't know your body better than you. Same thing. What food should I eat? Oh, I don't know. What does your body want? Tune in and listen to your body. And yes, not everyone's got that sensation, so it takes a new experience and a new way of being to actually do that. And it's going to be uncomfortable at first because it's different. Like anything new, it's going to be a little bit uncomfortable, and you have to actually work at it.
That's really interesting. So what interest has there been for you from like the astrophysics world and the kind of, the scientific world? Because I know someone else who's a founder, and his is emotional release stuff, and he took laws of physics, applied them to the body, and found parallels, and found that they were the way to help emotions release in the body. Very powerful work. But he found that it was all kind of hippies that were interested in what he did, and he wanted to talk to the scientists, but he also wanted a transducer, which was to be able to measure what he was doing. But in the end, he recognized it was the people who came to him that were the transducer. That was how he could monitor what was happening, and the people's feedback is where he saw that it wasn't a machine that could do what they could do. It was actually, that was where he found that. But have you at all branched into that, or is that something that's of interest to you, or what's your particular focus?
I guess I like the idea of that, but I feel like for me, when it comes to tracking, sometimes I feel like it takes away my power. My internal empowerment. So it's like I don't want to rely on something external. Because I've got everything in here. It's like I want to. It's like a bit of trust, but yes, depending on where we're at, sometimes the tracking helps. Like I know there's been a phase where it's like, say I was like 12 out of 10 pain, and then I had this like a chiropractor back scan that they use, where it's called, and they measure the temperature coming off the muscles and the activity there. And I had like perfectly green scans. So it was showing like there was like no inflammation, there was nothing really like there to look at that level, even though I had 12 out of 10 pain. I was in extreme pain.
You're in so much pain.
Again, that goes
your
back
experience
to pain.
was of more
my
importance.
experience was
Yeah, that makes total sense. Yeah, what are you experiencing, not what
Mhm.
are what's the external telling you you're experiencing? Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Ah,
And there
okay.
could be incredible devices that can be generated and developed around coherence as well. Like I'm up for all that. But I still love to bring it back to ourselves and our own empowerment. So even if
Yeah,
this
yeah,
technology gets developed out there
yeah,
in the
yeah.
quantum world, it's like, but don't rely on that again. Otherwise, we're in the same type of consciousness, the same pattern that we're in right now. Nothing changes.
Nah,
So
yeah, yeah.
we got to still bring it back to us and almost, yeah, empower ourselves.
Mm,
Um,
mm.
and yeah, that requires a certain level of yeah safety in our own container, you could say, or yeah, the box.
Yeah,
Enough
yeah.
safetiness in our box to have these experiences and to trust ourselves.
Yeah, yeah, amazing. Well, it's been fascinating, Caleb. I've really enjoyed our conversation. I think I don't know I don't know what I would even call it. I don't know what title I would even give it, but I think it's just an introduction to Caleb's brain and soul. Just a dip your toe in the water of where. But I think what's fascinating though is that coming to you, you lie on the table and then you're sort of doing this very, very minor thing and there's no explanation of all of this and you don't need it. But I can experience my experience of it is this is making sense of why of my experience is knowing that you're holding all of that because you
Mhm.
can't see that. You just see this guy saying, right, lie on the table, and you think, well, he's not doing very much. But you're actually holding multi perspectives, and that's
Mhm.
massive because that's that vortex that you're talking about, and you're bringing them into that vortex, and you're
Yeah,
open to what their body's perspective is within that
yeah.
vortex. So, what an
And when it
interesting place to research, yeah, from.
Yeah, that's exactly
Yeah,
right. When it's coherent and you're holding all that energy, it's like, yeah, that person's gonna have that energy flow through their system because it's in the field, it's in them.
yeah,
Yeah, it
yeah,
goes through all your trillion cells at the same time.
yeah, 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 yeah,
Because that's
exactly.
what you're working with. It's yeah.
Yeah,
And
but
that's
in
just not
such,
me doing it. That's you too. It's
yeah,
not it's not
yeah,
me. It's you. So that's
you're the
what I
conduit.
really
Yeah.
yeah, I just there is just to really help guide, really.
Yeah. But it's just that physically, if you actually describe what you do physically, it just doesn't look like much at all. But when you think of what it is energetically, that's the huge, that's the hugeness of it. And
Mhm.
yeah, it's fascinating work you're doing. And yeah, I'm interested to see how my journey goes and what happens.
Awesome.
So it's been great to chat with you. And let's see.
You too,
Oh,
Emily.